All right, everybody, welcome. It's 11 o'clock right now. If you're watching YouTube, you're probably seeing our trailer. I won't talk very long because I want to show you guys that trailer. Today, we're here to talk about next-gen stats, next-gen gameplay, all that kind of great stuff. I'm not going to go ahead and say anything more. I'm going to go ahead and play the trailer. Guys, let's check this out together.
Welcome to the most realistic NFL simulation ever. It begins with next-gen player movement powered by NFL next-gen stats. RFID tags in NFL players' shoulder pads chart their every move within inches. And this information now drives all animation in Madden, delivering unique acceleration rates, directional changes, and movement for all players on the field. You'll feel the explosion of Michael Thomas in and out of his breaks, the elite acceleration and blow-by ability of Henry Ruggs, and the raw athleticism of Dalvin Cook, feeling dangerous on every touch. Defensively, players will move and position themselves based on their next-gen stats data. Elite defenders will react authentically to make plays on the ball and take unique angles when chasing down ball carriers. Next-gen player movement delivers realistic and smooth simulation gameplay based on actual NFL player data. Thanks to next-gen stats, you can only experience this in Madden. Throughout each game, key moments trigger next-gen stats replays, giving you an analytical breakdown of the play. Over 15 specific data points tracked on every down give you the information you need to make strategic decisions and optimize your gameplay. To help create these highlight moments, play calling is now more intuitive and accessible. You can easily call plays to get the ball in the hands of your star players. You can save your favorite plays to find quickly when the perfect moment arises. The next generation of Madden is here, and it's never felt so real. Feel game day in Madden NFL 21.
Great stuff all around, folks. Great stuff all around. Pretty excited today to have the opportunity to go ahead and talk to you guys about next-gen gameplay and stats. Before I do anything, before I dig into anything, we will have some gridiron notes after the stream. And it may be already up there that talks a little bit about this stuff. Before I continue, I definitely want to give a shout out to Mole for his support in getting me some screens. Not just that, but a huge shout out to Connor and Clint. I had an opportunity to go to a press event, virtual press event, to listen to all the stuff that's happening in game, and they also gave me the opportunity to go ahead and cut that down and share bits and pieces of that. So there's gonna be a longer stream as we go into this and I talk about some of these things. I'm going to read the gridiron notes and I'm going to go ahead and show you some of those clips. But Clint and Connor did a phenomenal job. I do want to highlight that it is a press event. So, you know, when Clint comes on stream, it's a very different kind of vibe from Clint. It's a press event, so you're talking to a very different kind of audience. So I just want to highlight that there, as well as Connor. It's a very different atmosphere. I would be like just completely nervous to say anything to anybody about our game, but they did a phenomenal job to go ahead and capture the essence of what's going on with next-gen gameplay, as well as next-gen stats and all that kind of great stuff. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the article real quick here. We're going to go ahead and talk about these things. I also want to give a huge shout out to Jackie for getting us those next-gen logos that you guys might see in some of the screenshots. Not just that, but Not Gibbs did a phenomenal job. I cannot stress it enough in getting these gridiron notes written for you guys. He worked with Clint. He worked with Connor to go ahead and get the meat of these articles. So really do appreciate everything that you've done, Not Gibbs. Great to have you on the team. So again, welcome to the first gridiron notes for Madden NFL 21 on Next Gen. We're excited to finally reveal the next generation of Madden NFL on Xbox Series X and Xbox Series S and PlayStation 5. Today we'll want to take a deep dive into Next Gen player movement and the integration of NFL Next Gen stats into Madden's gameplay. This new innovation and technology is now going to be the foundation for most athletic player movement ever in Madden NFL. And I think that's the key thing that I want to highlight right here, is that this is the beginning of something new. I think I've had an opportunity to talk with Clint and a lot of other people. They are setting the foundation of how this game is going to go ahead and perform from a real NFL simulation football experience, using these stats, using all this kind of stuff. So it's really exciting, but it is the foundation of everything that we're about to see today. So let's go ahead and start with how you can expect next gen stats to completely change the feel of gameplay. So, for me, when I was kind of paying a lot of attention to this, next gen stats, a lot of people kind of get it. Some people don't, and I really want to go over this and kind of give some context. And Clint does a phenomenal job in this clip. But, there's a hyperlink right there where it says next gen stats. If you click on that, it's going to take you to the NFL website. And there's just a ton of next gen stats. But a lot of people don't know how that is kind of manufactured or how people come up with that. There are folks in the stream that are probably super smart, know all that kind of stuff, which is awesome. But there's other people that may not know, so we want to give you some of that context. So NFL player tracking, also known as next-gen stats, is the capture of real-time location data, speed and acceleration for every player, every play on every inch of the field. Sensors throughout the stadium track RFID tags placed on players' shoulder pads, charting individual movements within inches in every NFL stadium. This information, this wealth of information, this wealth of data is going to be powering a lot of things that you're going to see in our gameplay in the future. So really excited about that. That being said, I'm going to go ahead and put on a clip real quick here where Clint talks a little bit about that. I'll go ahead and turn it over there.
So let's start out with what is next-gen stats. This is real-world tracking data of NFL players. Since 2015, NFL players have had RFID chips or radio frequency identification in their shoulder pads that is tracked by a set of cameras in every NFL stadium, allowing the NFL to collect real-time location, speed, and acceleration data for every player on their fields. Some of this data is provided to NFL teams to use for advanced analytics, game planning, scouting, and even player safety. And now this data is also provided to Madden NFL. In anticipation of the Gen 5 console launch, we've been working on integrating this data into Madden with the primary goal of delivering a gameplay experience that feels as close to authentic NFL football as possible. And now we're finally able to reveal how Madden is utilizing this awesome NFL data towards that goal.
Awesome. Now that Clint's kind of given an overview on like those next gen stats and how all that kind of stuff works, I'm going to go ahead and pull up the article again, and we're going to go ahead and take a look at that real quick here. So next gen stats equals next gen player movement, and we'll bring back Clint and Connor and those folks to talk a little bit more about that. So next gen stats equals next gen player movement. Leveraging the power of the NFL next gen stats, next gen player movement is fueled by real athlete data, route pass, acceleration rates, allowing the next generation of Madden NFL to deliver the most realistic, authentic, and fluid player movement in franchise history. Now, when I read that, I was like, okay, sounds a little gimmicky, but I have seen the stuff, and it's actually pretty amazing. We'll show you guys some graphics that Mole was able to go ahead and get for us, where you kind of see how Madden performs today and how Madden will perform kind of in next-gen stats in the future. Feel the most elite athletes at every position move on the virtual fields like they do in the real world. Expanding on the player archetypes introduced in Madden NFL 21 on the current gen, they've added more animation content and nuance to each unique archetype on next generation tech so that they will move and feel even more differently on the sticks. So unique player movement per archetype with each captured across multiple body types. Ball carrier, there's agile small, agile tall, bruiser quick, bruiser heavy. You'll kind of feel these kind of things. Route runners, wide receiver, running back, tight end split up between agile small, agile tall. We've talked about all these archetypes, so of course you're going to see some improvements here. Pass block improvement for offensive linemen. So before we go into next gen stats and route running, I'm going to go ahead and play this clip regarding next gen player movement. So hang tight. We'll go ahead and check this out right now.
So what are we doing with it? Next Gen Stats is going to power next gen player movement, utilizing this player data from hundreds of games and thousands of plays. The data feeds into our animation engine to recreate player movement when running, cutting, and changing direction, all performed at realistic speeds and acceleration rates for all 22 positions on the field. This next-gen player movement will enable the most elite NFL athletes to move on the virtual field, just like they do in the real world. Next-gen player movement improves gameplay in a variety of ways. Not only does the game look and feel more realistic, but it now plays at a pace more representative of real NFL football, allowing you to better see plays develop, and you'll feel players play differently from each other on both sides of the ball.
All right, so next up, we're going to go ahead and talk about next-gen stats and how it impacts route running. And again, huge shout out again to Clint and Connor for all their support and all the stuff that they disclosed during that press event. It was very enlightening. Let's go ahead and jump into this article real quick here with next-gen stats and route running, right? So with next-gen stats, route running in Madden NFL 21 has been completely overhauled. Receivers will run actual routes logged by next-gen stats, real NFL game data. I'll show you guys. We call them like ant caps. We also have like kind of images of how things look in game that have like a lot of debug text. We've kind of stripped that out so you guys can see just simply how the routes are run. In addition to speed and acceleration rates, our animation engine is also leveraging player-specific routes from next-gen stats for individual receivers. For example, the path that Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams takes on a deep crossing route on a Sunday afternoon will be the same deep crossing route reflected by Adams in the Madden NFL gameplay. The result is a natural feeling, and it feels pretty fluid. So before, on previous gen, our receivers ran from one specific point to another specific point at top speed. So let me go ahead and show you these images. Again, huge shout out right here to Mole for getting us these images. So right here before, on previous gen, which is represented by the yellow line, our receivers ran from one specific point to another specific point at top speed all the time and made very similar cuts with very little difference between unique players, right? Now, after, what you're going to see is you see that green line. That green line is representative of what you're going to see in next gen. So on next gen, player ratings and archetypes will heavily impact the quality and the speed of each route, and they will be run as an entire route from start to finish rather than each individual portion of a route on a previous gen. So I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of movie clips, not movie clips. I'm going to go ahead and play a couple of clips from the press event that's going to go ahead and detail this out to you guys right now. Actually, before I do that, sorry. Here's another one of Tyreek Hill. So you'll go ahead and see a post and another out. You'll see kind of from the green line. It's kind of hard to see on the left-hand side, but again, you'll see specifically Tyreek Hill in this play, and then also you'll see him on that post route on the right-hand side. As he goes up, you'll see that curve, right? It's not as angular, it's not as robotic, but I'll go ahead and let these video clips explain that right now.
As I stated previously, the goal of next-gen player movement is to redefine authentic simulation football via next-gen Madden gameplay. There's nothing more authentic than using real-world NFL player data to power our gameplay, and we're the only sports games that can do it. One of the many areas where next-gen player movement really shines is with our route running. Here's a quick look at next-gen route running in action. And now I'm going to hand it off to our creative director, Connor. He's going to go deeper into the details about route running and all the other aspects of Madden's next-gen stats gameplay. Take it away, Connor.
Awesome. Thanks, Clint. Let's get into it. So as Clint mentioned, and I really want to emphasize this point, the pace of the game is now much more realistic. It's smoother and it's representative of the real NFL experience. So as a player, I can see holes develop as a runner, make informed progression reads as a passer, and more effectively guide defensive players into position to make a play. And the pace of the game has changed for the better. Now let's talk about route running specifically. In addition to speed and acceleration rates, our animation engine is also leveraging player-specific route paths from next-gen stats for receivers. In many cases, elite receivers will run their actual routes tracked by next-gen stats, real NFL game data. For example, the actual route that you would see from Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams on a deep crossing route on a Sunday will be the same route reflected by Adams in Madden NFL gameplay. And the result is natural feeling fluid routes with athletic nuance and player differentiation, all possible thanks to the incorporation of next-gen stats, which no other sports game has.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and play another clip here with next-gen route running.
The pace of the game is now much more realistic. It's smoother and it's representative of the real NFL experience. So as a player, I can see holes develop as a runner, make informed progression reads as a passer, and more effectively guide defensive players into position to make a play. And the pace of the game has changed for the better. Now let's talk about route running specifically. In addition to speed and acceleration rates, our animation engine is also leveraging player-specific route paths from next-gen stats for receivers. In many cases, elite receivers will run their actual routes tracked by next-gen stats, real NFL game data. For example, the actual route that you would see from Green Bay Packers wide receiver Davante Adams on a deep crossing route on a Sunday will be the same route reflected by Adams in Madden NFL gameplay. And the result is natural feeling fluid routes with athletic nuance and player differentiation, all possible thanks to the incorporation of next-gen stats, which no other sports game has. And now we can take a closer look as we go to the next video. So here what we're looking at is the difference between current gen and next gen. As you can see on the left on current gen, our route running and movement was very robotic. Players accelerated instantaneously with multiple destinations existing on a single route. And that comes through in its robotic nature. And on the right on next gen, we're using actual NFL player data from next gen stats, and they run an entire route from start to finish. So you can really see the difference in the quality of motion in terms of how receivers get off the line and then run the route. It's smoother, more athletic, and more realistic.
All right. Now I know another question you guys are going to have, and we'll go ahead and go through the article, is how is this going to go ahead and play a factor when it comes down to defense? So next gen player movement doesn't just benefit the offense. We've also analyzed the next gen stats data for defensive players in terms of speed, facing direction, and acceleration. This data has allowed our animation engine to provide the appropriate context to make defenders who are backpedaling and strafing much more natural looking and athletic. And I have a video right here that I'll go ahead and play that kind of discusses a little bit on how that will look.
So now let's talk about defense and how next-gen player movement comes to life on the defensive side of the ball. We analyze next-gen stats data on defense looking at defensive player speed, facing, and acceleration. We then took this data and applied it to the selection of our defensive movement animations, and you'll notice strafing and backpedaling look so much more natural. We've also innovated in tackling. With new tech, we've made tackling more visually authentic and user-friendly. In coverage, players will react and close on plays more consistently and predictably. Defenders will move like their real-world counterparts during both on-ball plays and impact moments. And for tackling, we built new tackle prediction and anticipation technology we call Rally, which allows us to queue up tackles prior to contact without pulling in the ball carrier. This allows us to have much more tackle variety, more anticipation for the defender leading into the tackle, and creates more visual fidelity and authentic interaction during impact moments. Also, using the Rally prediction model makes it easier for gamers to get into position to match a tackle.
All right. So one of the things too that we also have in the game is going to be next gen stats replays and all that kind of stuff. I'll go ahead. It's here in the article, next gen stats powered replays. I'm going to want to play you a clip so you guys kind of get an idea of what this is going to look like. I don't know. I had a chance to go ahead and play this. I thought it was pretty cool. I was using Lamar Jackson. He threw a deep bomb to Marquise
So
Brown.
let's talk about
Pretty
next gen
awesome
stats replays. So some of the next gen stats will be surfaced to the player via replays after big plays. We're tracking next-gen stats data in-game from our virtual players to create dynamic, high-def cinematic replays. These new replays highlight the biggest plays made by our virtual players. We track over 15 specific data points such as completed air distance, rushing distance, ball carrier speed, hustle tackles, and time to sack, to name a few. And what makes this cool is that we're highlighting some of your biggest plays through the lens of next-gen stats. As you can see in this example, players will get next-gen stats replays after big plays and exciting moments, just like you see on real NFL broadcasts. Not only are we using next-gen stats data from the real world, we're also collecting it for our virtual athletes during Madden gameplay to show off in these replays. And they're really cool when you actually get to pull one off.
And what you'll see here is that these are some of the primary next-gen stat replay triggers and the secondary ones. They'll highlight in the Gridiron Notes so you guys can go ahead and check those out as the Gridiron Notes is released. Now, next-gen play calling is another thing, and then we'll jump into additional gameplay improvements. But I have a video clip here from Clint kind of walking through specifically the next-gen play calling and what's happening in this space. So I'll go ahead and play that for you guys real quick here from the press event.
Thank you, Connor. Yeah, so we're going to transition over to play call. For a proper foundation for our next-gen gameplay, we've also revamped our play calling experience. To be very honest, it's been a while since we changed our play call, and frankly, it's been overdue. But beyond that, we felt that next-gen gameplay would not be complete without a new intuitive system here. Beyond just a reskin, we've delivered a variety of innovations to make play call more user-friendly. You can now call plays by individual players, bookmark your favorite plays to save for later, and see important game information like X factors and game goals, all in the new play call screen. Overall, these enhancements make the experience much easier for new players and more dynamic for Madden veterans. Let's take a look. So what we're going to show you, here's our new play call screen. The first thing we want to call out is the ability to easily call plays by player. This makes it easier to get the ball in the hands of your stars. For example, if you want to get the ball to McCaffrey or Tyreek Hill, select him in the player filter, and you'll get to choose from all the plays featuring him as the primary threat. And this filter also includes the view showing the X factors that each player is equipped with. Next is an option commonly requested by our community, which is the ability to save favorite plays. As this video loops through, if you can see the little heart icon up in the upper right-hand corner of each play on the Chiefs series, that's representative of a play that has been bookmarked via a simple double tap of the play icon. This will save your favorite plays to a special tab in your playbook so you can find them quickly when the perfect moment arises. And your favorites will even be saved to your profile so that any persistent plays will still be there when switching your playbook for your next game.
Some great stuff all around regarding next gen play calling right there. Huge shout out to Clint. When I saw this, I was very, very impressed. I see a lot of W's in the chat from you guys specifically regarding the next gen play calling. So great stuff all around. Really do appreciate Connor and kind of Clint giving a lot of that context during the event. Some great stuff there. Now let's go ahead and talk about some of the additional gameplay improvements that we'll see regarding next gen. And I thought this was really important, and it is highlighted in the notes. So additional gameplay improvements, because next gen player movement has had such a significant impact on the pace of play in Madden NFL 21, here's some other gameplay improvements that come along with the next gameplay system. So pass lead, next gen stats, and player movement opened up the ability to lead receivers on deep routes more effectively. Run game, it's easier to read running lanes and find those satisfying cutback lanes. QB movement in and out of the pocket is smooth and athletic. You also feel the differentiation in movement all over the field when comparing pocket passers to mobile QBs. I definitely felt that. Head tracking, head movement is more realistic for receivers when running routes and for ball carriers in terms of when and where they are looking, making them look more aware of on-the-field action. Tackling, we've already talked about tackling with the new rally tech. We've also improved gang tackles. Gang tackles will trigger more often with much more variety. We've also made improvements to tackle momentum, and it's now much more realistic with direction, weight, and speed of the player involved taken into account for tackle selection and post-tackle follow-through. And even defensive users can now interact with gang tackles. Improved pass rush timing. With the passing game moving at a more realistic speed, the pass rush has much more of an impact relative to the timing relationship between the QB drop back, the depth of the route, and the speed of the incoming pass rushers. I definitely felt that. You could trust me. I got some next gen moments of getting sacked. It was pretty impressive. Blazing fast load times. You guys have probably already seen this on previous gen. You'll see it also on next gen. Faster load times powered by next gen generation tech can get you in the game quicker than ever. Never lose focus as stadium environments will load with unprecedented speed and time. Redesigned loading systems on next-gen tech allowed us to maximize bandwidth and processing by utilizing the high-speed SSD and integrated graphics and whatnot on the next-gen consoles. So again, a lot of great stuff all around. I really do appreciate you guys kind of tuning in for this element. Now, the Gridiron Notes are going to go ahead and be over at our Gridiron Notes website. Make sure to follow at EA Madden NFL. They will probably be tweeting that out. Also at Madden NFL Direct. Again, Nat Gibbs, Connor, Clint, you guys absolutely killed it. Just some great stuff all around that we wanted to share with you guys today and all that kind of stuff. I definitely want to say thank you for just taking the time out of your day to kind of walk through all of this, kind of hear all about this news. This will be saved as an archive, so you guys, excuse me, you guys can go back and actually listen to things. If you missed something, or if you have a friend of yours that's working and wasn't able to watch this on the stream, they can go ahead and watch the archive and all that kind of stuff. The trailer's up on YouTube. I'll probably go ahead and end the stream with that. And but again, I really want to thank everybody for taking the time to go ahead and watch this regarding next-gen gameplay and next-gen stats. We have more information regarding next-gen, which we hope to share with you guys in the near future. Definitely stay tuned for that. Seeing a lot of great questions from the chat, like a lot of great questions like, you know, how does this play? How is this going to work with Legends, right? You have all these next-gen stats and information. How does that feed into that? How does that feed into the tool? I'm seeing a lot of other stuff as well from you guys with a lot of questions like, is this happening on PC and whatnot? So again, we'll go ahead and follow up with some of those, hopefully give some more context in the coming week. I'll work with our team and all that kind of great stuff. So again, this is Kralo. I'm signing out. I got to go do all these giveaways from earlier on. I appreciate all you guys tuning in. We'll be back tomorrow with limited editions, hopefully give you a little bit of a preview of Autumn Blast. But hope you guys enjoyed all the information regarding next-gen gameplay and next-gen stats. This is Kralo. I'm signing out. I'll be back tomorrow.
Welcome to the most realistic NFL simulation ever. It begins with next-gen player movement powered by NFL next-gen stats. RFID tags in NFL players' shoulder pads chart their every move within inches. And this information now drives all animation in Madden, delivering unique acceleration rates, directional changes, and movement for all players on the field. You'll feel the explosion of Michael Thomas in and out of his breaks, the elite acceleration and blow-by ability of Henry Ruggs, and the raw athleticism of Dalvin Cook, feeling dangerous on every touch. Defensively, players will move and position themselves based on their next-gen stats data. Elite defenders will react authentically to make plays on the ball and take unique angles when chasing down ball carriers. Next-gen player movement delivers realistic and smooth simulation gameplay based on actual NFL player data. Thanks to next-gen stats, you can only experience this in Madden. Throughout each game, key moments trigger next-gen stats replays, giving you an analytical breakdown of the play. Over 15 specific data points tracked on every down give you the information you need to make strategic decisions and optimize your gameplay. To help create these highlight moments, play calling is now more intuitive and accessible. You can easily call plays to get the ball in the hands of your star players. You can save your favorite plays to find quickly when the perfect moment arises. The next generation of Madden is here, and it's never felt so real. Feel game day in Madden NFL 21.